Hello, friends, and welcome back to Seshcast. My name is Goldilocks. This is Seshcast, a cannabis podcast for cannabis sessions. And today was supposed to be a very awesome episode and a super cool, important episode where I got to sit down with Aaron Richard and Mac Dizzle 420, two incredible people and very, very awesome Weedtubers who have launched this project called the Weedtube.com, are about to launch this project called the Weedtube.com. I got to sit down with both of them this morning and unfortunately lost all the audio from that interview, which sucks a lot. It has been a pretty heartbreaking day here in Seshcast land. That's really all there is to say about it. I got a chance to interview two amazing people this morning, and let me tell you, it was a phenomenal interview. I had an absolute blast. I learned so much about this really awesome thing that I'm going to spend today talking about. And it was an all-around great experience. And to find out that I lost the audio, not only from my main recording, but from my backup recording as well of that interview was just absolutely heartbreaking. So I wanted still to put some sort of content out this week that had something to do with the Weedtube.com because Aaron and Mac took time to sit down with me, and they're so busy right now. They're so crazy. They've got so much going on. And they took almost 2 hours of their time to sit down with me this morning and give me all of this awesome information, which they were under the impression would be shared with the public, and I had every intention of sharing it with the public. And then it got lost to the digital abyss, which happens sometimes. Man, nothing says breaking into the entertainment industry, especially the digital entertainment industry, like interviewing two of your favorite people and role models and then managing to lose all of the audio. That just wraps it up right there. If you want to know what it's like to try and break into entertainment, you run into a lot of things like this, and you hit these points where you say, you know what, I could either roll over and admit defeat and just move on like this never happened, or you can make the best out of it. And I wanted to make the best out of it. So I spent 45 to an hour talking with Aaron and Mac this morning, learned all about the Weedtube.com, got some great information, some incredible insight, and I want to share it with you, with the platform that I have, because I owe that to Mac and Aaron. And not only because I owe that to Mac and Aaron, but because I think that the Weedtube.com is such an important thing for the cannabis community, for the digital content creation community, for the millennial generation as a whole. And I'll get into all of this later, I promise. I just think that this is so important. And at the end of the day, Mac and Aaron are two of the nicest and kindest and most incredible people that I've gotten a chance to sit down and talk to. And so to deprive the world of what we talked about today and to, throw that off or shed that off like it was something that didn't happen and, just burn that interview off, it would suck. It just wouldn't be there. And I would not feel good about that. So, yeah, that's about it. This is typically the interview where I stumble about, This is typically the introduction where I stumble about and talk about what kind of glass I'm using and what I'm smoking on. But I just wanted to put out there that this week is going to be a little bit of a different Seshcast, which is fine. I mean, that's the point, right? This podcast is a session, and this is what today's session has been. And boy, here at the end of the day, as we roll into the early morning hours of Thursday, I'm recording this the day before it goes out, if you're curious. As we roll into the very early hours of Thursday morning, I need this session, and I just need to talk about this for a little while. So that's what I'm going to do. So thank you so much for coming along. My name is Goldilocks. I'm not sure that I said that at the beginning or not. This is Seshcast, a cannabis podcast for cannabis sessions. Thank you so much for coming along. Now that I've rambled for 5 minutes, I'm going to take a hit of this, which is Crystal Coma, super delicious, smells great, effects are bomb, good weed, big fan. Out of this Monster Glass spoon, which is already on my Instagram, episode 1. It's the one with Einstein in the background. Super pretty pipe. Probably be in the Instagram post this week as well. But let me hit this, and then we're going to talk about the WeTube.com, and I'm very excited to talk about it. So, cheers, my friends. All right, so the WeTube. I approached Mac and Aaron early this week to ask them about this interview for a main specific reason, and that is because I think that there is not a ton of crossover between the YouTube community and the podcast community. I really think that there is a difference there, and that not everyone falls onto both sides. Sorry, that got rambly. I got distracted by my computer screen. Let me try that again. I think the people who watch stuff on YouTube are not always the people who listen to podcasts, and the people who listen to podcasts are not always the people who watch stuff on YouTube. Much easier way to explain this. So on YouTube, for all of you who are not YouTube savvy people or don't spend a ton of time on YouTube like I do, there has existed this community of creators known as Weedtubers. And these Weedtubers have done all of the content kind of things that you can imagine. There are all sorts of communities on YouTube, right? So like you've got your gamers, your Let's Players, your game reviewers, your angry video game nerds, your Markipliers, all of those. You've got your beauty vloggers, you've got your regular vloggers, you've got your fitness accounts, you've got your toy accounts. YouTube's built of communities if all you do is watch viral videos. And hey, man, I understand. That's how I got into YouTube. Eventually, you just get bored and lonely in college and fall down the rabbit hole that is the red and white play button. But this community known as WeTubers has been doing all of that content, but revolving around cannabis. Maybe not all of that content. They've been making cannabis-centric YouTube content. And that's not just sitting in a chair and smoking weed or doing something like I'm doing. That's everything from, product reviews and really educational content, topical content, nature sessions and vlogs and strain reviews and I don't even know. Everything you can think of. If you can do it and smoke weed, it's probably on YouTube somewhere. Or it was. Because out of nowhere, YouTube just kind of decided that the Weedtube was going to be a no-go anymore, and just started striking people down. Now, this is one of those times where I really wish I had this interview with Mac and Aaron in audio, because they talked in so much elaborate detail about what happened and who all got struck, and the list of names is insane. They're YouTubers who have large followings, who have been on YouTube for years and have really built a name for themselves on YouTube, who have suddenly been met with content ID strikes and channel issues and videos being removed and age restrictions. And then this past weekend, the weekend of the 17th, everything up to straight up channel deletion, which is not a great thing. I mentioned in another podcast that I tried YouTube for a little while, and I didn't really try YouTube. I just had a YouTube channel, and it didn't end up being the way that I wanted to walk into the digital content creation world, so I bailed out. But building on YouTube is incredibly hard, and to amass any sort of following on YouTube is insanely difficult. And then to have all of that taken away from you in an instant over videos that were filmed legally and contain legal content and don't really even violate any of YouTube's community guidelines is very shocking and a complete and total kick to the teeth. And so some of these people, Tim, who is the guy behind a channel called Stoned Alone, Groovy Mac, and I know Leafer Bag got deleted today. Matthias 710WRX got deleted. Just a number of WeTubers who, and again, if you are not in the YouTube community, I understand that, and these names are just names to you. So if you know who those people are, then you know who those people are. If you don't, believe me when I tell you that those are people who tried really, really hard to put their life's work and to make a career of WeTube and really dedicated themselves to that platform. So again, to have that yanked away and ripped away out of nowhere is not only shocking and alarming, but really, really terrible and a really, really hard thing to come up from. And thus comes in this new idea known as the Weedtube.com. So there is your little bit of background about the YouTube side of things. Mac and Aaron are two YouTubers, two Weedtubers who have been on YouTube for a while. Mac Dizzle 420, you may know from her time with the High Rise Co. or Two Girls One Bong. Aaron, you may know from his Watch and Sesh stories, or his Watch and Sesh series, his Stoner Thoughts series. They're just two Weedtubers, but they are two very influential Weedtubers and who have been at the forefront of a lot of projects, mostly revolving around uniting the Weedtube community. And considering I did a whole episode about community, I really believe that that's a super important thing. And so I'm going to jump in now to the Weedtube.com and what exactly that is now that you've gotten a little bit about the background after I take another hit of this. So cheers, friends. So, the Weedtube.com. The Weedtube.com is... Let me tell you what it is first, because I'm not exactly sure how else to explain this to someone. So let me clarify. I think that some people will listen to this podcast as people who already know exactly what the Weedtube.com is. They followed Aaron and Mac on this journey, or they've been affected by some of these content creators being deleted. They're involved with this project somehow. So I am sure that many people listening to this already know exactly what the Weedtube.com is and have heard a lot about it from Mac and Aaron, and Evil Evelyn and Tim and everybody else who's been along on this ride. I am also sure that some people listening to this podcast have no idea what any of this is, and saw the Weedtube.com and were like, what's that? So when I was talking with Mac and Aaron, I got to interview them and talk to them a little bit about some things that they haven't had a chance to elaborate on yet. And I really wanted to put that out for people who already knew what the Weedtube.com was. But since, again, I'm an idiot and I lost that audio, I sort of want to change target to those in my audience who may have no idea what this is. So I'm going to start base here. So if this is not new information to you, I apologize. Please stand by and I'll try and entertain you in some way. I promise. But for those of you who have never heard of the Weedtube.com, or all of this is completely new information to you and you are like, what? People smoke weed on YouTube? That's new information. The Weedtube.com is an alternative uploading platform to YouTube. And I want to be very specific about this because Mac and Aaron and I talked about this earlier. This is not some sort of competition to YouTube. This is not necessarily trying to be the new YouTube or anything like that. There are plenty of other video uploading sites. What this is an alternative platform created with cannabis content in mind. Not restricted to cannabis content, but created from the cannabis community with cannabis content in mind, as a safe and fair place for that to be uploaded. Because when all this Weedtube stuff was going on, in the early days, they too were affected by the adpocalypse of YouTube. Late 2016, early 2017, this really important YouTuber named PewDiePie made a couple dumb videos, and everybody decided they didn't want to advertise on YouTube anymore. Go do more research on your own if you so choose. But long story short is that the Weedtube community has never really been able to monetize their content on YouTube the way that other YouTube content creators can. So they're not making money off YouTube ads. They're not really making money off YouTube. But you can't really try and make a career of digital content creation, which we have seen is a very legitimate career path in 2018, without dedicating your whole life to that. So you can't have it both ways. You can't pour your life into YouTube to grow to a point where you can make money, and then also not be able to make any money by making videos on YouTube. It's a catch-22, and it's one of life's great conundrums. You just can't do it. And so the WeedTube.com is sort of born out of this idea of, let's create a place where anyone can upload their content and get monetization in a fair way for their content. Get paid for the traffic they drive. The base idea. So specifically, the cannabis community is going to have a place to upload their content, whatever that content may be, without fear of YouTube saying, we don't want cannabis on this website, we don't want weed here, y'all potheads are mucking up the kid-friendly atmosphere we're going for. Realistically, we just can't make enough money off you, so we don't want you on here. The WeedTube.com gets rid of all of those things, and very much says, no. Like, your content is just as good as anyone else's content, and you should be paid for the content you're uploading, especially because the cannabis community is a large and growing and important community. Here we all are, If you're listening to this podcast, I assume you've smoked a little jazz cabbage in your life. You've ruffled the feathers of the devil's lettuce. You've got some sort of stake in this, and probably, that being a stoner is a lot more than laying on the couch and eating the Doritos. Not that that's bad. I love laying on couches and eating Doritos. It's just that there is a lot more to the cannabis community than people are seeing. And it needs a place to exist. And it existed pretty happily on YouTube there for a while. And then YouTube decided that wasn't cool anymore. So now it's going to exist on this new place called the WeedTube.com. But one of the things that Mac and Aaron talked a lot about when I was talking to them today was that this is not a members-only club. Yes, the WeedTube.com is targeted to a niche audience and was created with a niche community in mind. This is by cannabis creators, for cannabis creators, and cannabis content consumers. But what's super important here is that it's not just for the weed fam. This is for everybody. No one is going to be turned away from uploading to this website. There is going to be a terms of service. They're working on it. I talked with Mac and Aaron about this earlier. Long story short, they're asking everyone, please don't upload copyrighted stuff. That would be really not great, so keep it under 10 seconds so it's legal. And the question of tasteful nudity is up in the air. But as far as anything outside of those realms goes, it's pretty much free game. And so Mac specifically said she was really interested to see people create careers on the WeedTube.com and become new waves of creators, not specifically in the cannabis community, and from all walks of the digital content creation life. And that's really, really cool, because that means that this thing is going to grow and not just be some weird little stoner hangout group. This is going to be a thing because it's open to everybody, which is what the cannabis community is all about in the first place. If you smoke weed or you're not cool with everybody, you're smoking weed wrong, man. I hate to break it to you, but you missed the point. Weed can be an everybody thing. Unless you're a jerk, then you just can't bring bad vibes to the circle. But as long as you're not harshing anybody's mellow, welcome to the family. And the WeedTube.com has that idea ingrained in it, and that is amazing. And it has that idea ingrained in it, all while these content creators are going to be able to be paid for the traffic they drive without needing to sell out all of their content to individual companies. And I'm going to get into that a little bit more. I'm going to take another hit real quick, and we'll be right back and talk about that more. So cheers, friends. So, oh gosh. Boy. All right, we're good. So creators are going to be able to get paid for the content that they make, without selling their souls to sponsored content. Now, if you don't know the difference between content and sponsored content, you don't spend a lot of time on the internet, my friend. So nobody likes to just make commercials. And what we saw in the Weedtube community on YouTube, predominantly in the year 2017, was sponsored content, content predominantly driven by product reviews and things of the sort. Not because anybody really wanted it to be that way, but just because these people had to make a living somehow, and that was the only way they had to make money. And so the Weedtube.com is going to be a place where cannabis companies, weed shops, dispensaries, all sorts of people are going to be able to advertise on the platform, and then those ads will be able to be shown in front of videos just like they are on YouTube, and then that money is going to be shared in a fair way, some split between the Weedtube.com to keep the site running and the individual content creators themselves. That's it. That's the whole structure, and that's awesome. Now, I did ask Mac and Aaron what sort of advertisers they already have in with them, and basically what they told me was that they didn't really have enough of that locked down yet to give me a confident answer. There were still a lot of things up in the air, and so they didn't want to put anything out that ended up not being true or anything like that. But they did tell me that there is plenty of interest from plenty of companies, that there is no doubt in their mind that this sort of pay structure can become an instant reality. There is not going to be some startup period where they're begging content creators to, make content for 6 months, and then maybe you'll get paid on the other side. The infrastructure is there and is set for this website to be successful, which is awesome. Even more awesome because this website has been in mind for about 2 months now and was supposed to be a 6-month project being released on 4/20. Makes sense. Solid branding. I gotcha. Cool. So you've got 6 months to build a website and hopefully some sort of mobile app that literally Mac and Aaron both described as looking just different enough from YouTube to not get sued. Which, I mean, come on, let's face it. As far as video streaming online, like short video streaming sites go, YouTube's got it on lock. There's nobody better. Don't lie to me. Vimeo is not better as far as watching videos online than YouTube is. Politics, the site, back office, money grab, yep, all that sucks. I get it. But as far as like go to site, watch a video, YouTube, they got it on lock. So making a YouTube alternative that looks really like YouTube but is just different enough to not get in trouble, good call. Sounds great. I don't know what else you would do. There's no point trying to reinvent the wheel. That's what I'm trying to say here. But they told me that this site is going to look just different enough from YouTube to not get in trouble. And I know that I started that sentence somewhere that was not just talking about the way the site looks, and I straight up don't remember where it was, because I'm stoned. So my apologies. Welcome to Seshcast. If you've never been here before, this happens all the time. I go on some tangent and then forget what I was talking about. That's what makes talking into a microphone and smoking weed fun, I guess, or hopefully at least entertaining to listen to. So let's. Oh, I remember where this came from. We were talking about the timeline here. This was supposed to launch in 6 months. This was supposed to hit from 2 months ago. So basically, let's call it the new year. No, that's not enough. Let's back it up. Let's call it like November, December-ish to 420. 6-month project. Move that up 2 months. Well, maybe I have that wrong. Maybe I've got this all jacked up. I don't know. Math is hard. Long story short here, friends, they moved their launch date from 420 to 223, also known as this Friday, tomorrow from when this episode comes out. But 2/23/2018 is the projected and very hopeful launch date of the Weedtube.com. That's amazing, because if you have any knowledge of building a website, man, if you have knowledge of trying to build a WordPress blog, even knocking that out and making that look pretty in 4 months can be really hard. But building a whole website is insane. So they moved their startup date 2 months backwards. Mac and Aaron and a gentleman named Ryan from the app GoStoner, the company GoStoner, came together, bought some servers, built a website infrastructure, brought a whole team together, and have created a legitimate company, a legitimate launch project, a thing. They have made a thing 2 months early, and that's amazing. My hat's off to you, my friends. That is so incredible, because I'm not sure that people realize how hard that is. And I want to give a little bit of an anecdote from this interview earlier. Aaron went on specifically to talk about how much it meant to him, or to Mac and him, to put in their own money into this and really throw their support behind this, and how big that was for them. And what sparked that conversation was me clarifying to the listening audience, that you don't make a lot of money on YouTube. You especially don't make a lot of money smoking weed on YouTube. I think all the time people look at YouTubers or people who say they want to do this sort of thing for a living and think, yeah, well, the people who get big, they make millions of dollars doing X, Y on YouTube, just playing video games on YouTube, whatever. Yeah, okay, let me pull the wool from in front of your eyes. That's like 10 people. Like, the tiniest little handful of people get rich on YouTube. Everybody else struggles to make enough money to keep doing YouTube for a living. Basically, the reason that you become a YouTuber or a digital content creator, a podcaster, whatever of any sort, is not to become rich. It's to not have to do a real job anymore. That's the whole goal here. We're all just trying to make enough money that we can quit our real jobs and just do what we love for a while. Not because we're trying to get rich. It'd be awesome to get rich. Everybody wants to get rich. If you can look me in the eyes right now and tell me you didn't wish you had more money than you have, I'll call you a liar. I'll call you a liar 10 times out of 10 because I don't believe you. But YouTube is not, digital content creation is not, podcasting is not making a ton of money. I promise. So, Aaron went on a large conversation about how he and Mac put their money into this. They believed in this project. And for him, he saw it as his last big shot, or like the last big shot for the Weedtube community to make a career out of this, to survive, to live. Like, YouTube did not allow them to monetize. YouTube started hiding them on recommended so they couldn't get their views. Aaron told me specifically, I think that I'm not gonna pull it up and look, but I believe Aaron right now has like 109 about thousand subscribers, and he's averaging like a couple thousand views a video, and it's by no means because those views aren't there that his following isn't there. It's because a lot of his videos are getting ghosted. Subscribers aren't being notified about videos coming up. New people can't find his videos. And that's not just an Aaron thing. That has been the thing of WeedTube since at least Adpocalypse in 2016, 2017. So, Aaron saw the WeedTube.com specifically as the last hurrah for WeedTube. Either this is gonna hit, or it's not. And if it doesn't, everybody's going back to managing a restaurant or working in food service or going back to a day job. And I empathize with that in a lot of ways. Being a radio DJ and a podcaster, I mean, I went to college to be on the radio. It's dumb. I spent a lot of money to not make a lot of money, but we do what we love, I guess. So I understand that struggle, and to look at and say, this is it. Like this is the way it's gonna work, and if this one doesn't hit, there's nothing else for us. Like we are out of options, and so there is a GoFundMe, and interestingly enough, when I interviewed Aaron and Mac, at this point, exactly 13 hours ago, they were at $5,050 of their $6,500 goal. So just under $1,500 short, raised by 248 people in 2 days, averaging $20 per person. And here I sit 13 hours later, and their goal has been completed. I just saw it on Aaron's Twitter before I sat down to record this. They made their goal, which is huge. I mean, so huge. Not only for them, but for the Weedtube.com as a whole to see that the community is really behind this. There are enough people to power this and make this a reality. And that money, another thing I talked to Aaron and Max specifically about was where that money is going to go. And it's going to go a lot of places. They've been saying over the last couple days that money was for more server space and to bring a developer on board. Lucky for them, they have built this whole team around them, and they've had a lot of friends come in who are very, very supportive of them. And they gave me a list of all their names. We talked about it in the interview, and I'm not going to remember them all, and I don't want to mess anything up. So I'm going to leave giving credit out to Aaron and Mac and the Weedtube team. But they got a team behind them. They got somebody who worked with Amazon for a little while, and he told them, yes, you need that money. You need to spend that money. You don't need to spend that money necessarily on exactly what you thought you needed to spend it on. So they said that's going to go a lot of places, including they bringing on a legal team and an attorney for them, buying some server space all around the world so that their videos run at high quality and stream quickly in every country or in different countries. That money is going to go a lot of places, but it is all going directly back into the site itself, which is amazing. I think a lot of times you see those GoFundMes and you don't know exactly how much money they're asking for is going to go. You're like, this is a really revolutionary sock holder. I don't know why you need $50,000 to launch a sock holder that's Bluetooth compatible, but here I am donating to it. I don't know. Maybe that's more Kickstarter. I feel like that's more a Kickstarter thing. But long story short, this GoFundMe is going directly back into the site itself and into improving the site and making it better. And that's really, really cool. And I'm not just blowing smoke here. And that's what Aaron and Mac talked to me about. And they were so passionate about how this was not their get-rich-quick scheme. This was something that they have dreamed about for a long time, really since August of 2017. In August is the Seattle Hemp Fest, and at Seattle Hemp Fest in 2017, Aaron and I believe Danielle the Dab Spot came together to bring like 25 cannabis creators together to meet and hang out. And that meetup sparked the idea of maybe we need a community space, and it just has bloomed and blossomed into this idea. But what they told me was that this is a long-term idea for them. This is something they're very, very serious about, and they are ready to put themselves behind it. And now the community is behind it, and it's being pushed forward, and it's going to become a reality. And so this is not some crazy money grab. This is real. This is a perfect embodiment of what stoners can be to the world and what stoners can be to society, because we talk all the time about how we want to eliminate this stereotype of the burnout stoner. Just because you smoke weed doesn't mean that you're not a valuable member of society. We talk about that all the time, and here are two people who have made a career out of smoking weed on the internet, proving that stoners can be so much more. And not just two famous stoners, quote unquote famous, but the whole cannabis community can come together and launch this project and create this thing called the WeTube, and make something real. And so that's huge for not only the cannabis community and showing that, but that's huge for the digital content creation community, because while all this stuff has been going on for the WeedTube, things haven't been perfect around the rest of YouTube either. Like I said, I came from the gaming community on YouTube, and Adpocalypse hit the gaming world really, really, really hard. And you want to talk about content ID strikes and copyright claims? Gaming community again. Obviously, you've got Logan Paul happening recently, and that, at the end of the day, is really what set off the weed apocalypse that happened this weekend, with everybody getting strikes and deleted. And the weed apocalypse is Aaron's turn, not mine. Aaron's term, not mine. That was from the Logan Paul fiasco as well, but Logan Paul hit other vloggers really hard. People are afraid to advertise on content that might end up being that controversial. I'm getting ramped up. Smoked a lot of weed today. It's been a very stressful day, so I'm sorry that I'm stumbling over my words. But all of YouTube is getting hit hard, and all of these communities are getting hit hard. And here are the WeedTubers doing something about it and proving to the rest of the digital content creation world that you don't have to be a slave to YouTube, which I think is kind of what everybody wants at the end of the day. I'm going to cough real quick. Oh man, coughed and didn't even take a hit. I think everybody wants to know that their whole career isn't up to YouTube. Because at the end of the day, every YouTuber is just one of YouTube's employees. And it's always scary to know that one day your boss could wake up and decide they don't want you around anymore and kick you off the team. That's true in any job. And so I think that that's true for a lot of the YouTube communities as well. And so here are the WeedTubers saying, all right, it happened to us, but we're going to make something of it. And we're going to rise above this problem and this issue. And we're going to make our own space. And we're going to prove to the rest of the digital content creation world that you can create a niche platform. You can create something from nothing, and you can take your content and pave your own way with it. And so Mac and Aaron both talked a lot about wanting everyone to know that this site is open to everybody. Anybody can make an account. Of course, it's going to be free. Anybody can make money off this. And I asked them a question. If you are not familiar with YouTube or how to make money on YouTube, let me give you a quick rundown. Basically, you have to reach a certain standard of YouTube channel and then apply to become a partner. And then YouTube pays you a little bit every time they put an ad in front of your video. Now, YouTube has continued to raise the bar for what it takes to become a partner, which I think is now up to like 100 subscribers and 10,000 views in your last 12 months, maybe, I don't know. It's a lot. It's a lot. It's high. To start from nothing as a base level YouTuber, and to break into that and make anything of it is incredibly difficult. Incredibly difficult. And so one of the questions that I asked them was, is there going to be a certain level that a channel has to reach to make money? And they told me no. They said people are going to get paid for the clicks that they drive. People are going to get paid for the views that they have. People are going to get paid in a way they deserve to get paid. And so if you're getting 10, 15, 20 views a video, you'll get paid at the end of the month. It might be $0.001, not dollar, 0.001 cent. Not very much money, but you're going to get paid in a sense if you consider a fraction of a penny getting paid. People are going to make money off this in a fair way, and that's cool and super important. And the last group that I think I want to point out here is this is going to be kind of big for the millennial generation. I'm not going to lie. Sorry if you're listening to this and you're not a millennial. I sometimes hate that I am a millennial, because the whole world has decided what being a millennial means, and we've never really gotten a chance to prove it for ourselves. But here you go, man. This is two millennials coming together with a group of other millennials to create their own place. And this isn't the safe place that people make fun of. This is the type of safe place where, like, all right, you said you didn't want us, and we're going to go make our own thing, and we're going to make our own way of it because we don't have to follow your rules anymore. And everybody says that about podcasting, right? Podcasting is you are your own boss. You can say whatever you want. You can do whatever you want. It's your show. And that's cool and all. But at the end of the day, there's never been a large platform, sans, I don't know, maybe Reddit, who has said, hey, you didn't want our content. We're going to take it over here and we're going to make our own world of it. And it's going to work with or without you. And it's really, really cool to see that coming from two people who are as driven as Aaron and Mackenzie. They are amazing people. They're super great. And to see them spearhead this project as someone who has followed them on YouTube now for a couple years is really, really cool. And is very impressive and is something that I'm super excited to see happen. If you can't tell, because I just talked about it for 40 minutes. I'm just really psyched on this project. I really, really am. I don't really know what else to say there. I'm going to take another hit of this real quick, and I'm going to come back in and wrap this up. Cheers. So, to conclude, if you have stuck around, I interviewed Aaron Richard, the gay stoner, and Mackenzie, MacDizzle 420. And then I lost all the audio from that interview, and that sucks. Man, it was heartbreaking. I've beaten myself up about it all day. But this information was important, and I wanted to get this information out there as best as I could. And the last thing that I asked them before they signed off today was what people can do to help. You know, what's the action items for people? And when we talked 13 hours ago, the answer was, hit us up on the GoFundMe, please. And now 13 hours later, the GoFundMe is full. And one of the things we talked about in the interview was whether or not they were going to leave that GoFundMe up and bring in more, or if they were going to take it down early and cash out. And they weren't sure. So I don't want to necessarily pimp the 420 and say, pimp the 420. That was bad. I'm sorry. I don't want to necessarily go out there and pimp the GoFundMe because I don't know if they're going to leave it up. So you can check in on their social medias for information about that. But the thing that Aaron said was they just need the word to get out. They want people to share this. They want people to talk about this. Official site launch is on February 23rd of 2018. as of right now. That might get shifted around and change a little bit, man. The internet is hard, but when we talked this morning, it was looking really good. So, February 23rd, 2018, the day after this episode goes out, and they said the biggest thing that they could use right now is just to get the word out. Tell all of your favorite companies. Tell anyone you think might be interested. Bring something to someone and say, look at this cool thing. Check this out, please. And outside of that was to just create some buzz in the social world. Do some fan art, create some social media content, do whatever, and get ready to jump in on the Weedtube. Because they said that it might be sort of a limited creator run here at the beginning while they're getting everything set up and getting the servers up and running and really going for it. But very, very soon, everyone is going to be open to upload. And so get ready for it, and welcome to the Weedtube. And it is the Weedtube. I guess WeTube.com is already taken by somebody else. So it's the WeedTube.com. And I'll try and be very specific about that. You can find so much more information in the show notes that will be up for this episode. Like so much more information. I'm going to put all of the links that I can. I'll put all of the links to Mac and Aaron's channels and the WeedTube.com and all of that social and everything that I can find. I'll put it in the show notes. The WeedTube.com is on Instagram. I will tag all of this and all of these people on my Instagram as well. So find me and follow me at Seshcast if you are looking for easy and quick links to the Weedtube, to MacDizzle420, to Aaron, to wherever you want to go. I one more time just want to say how sorry and bummed out that I am that I don't have this interview to give to you. It was phenomenal. It was great. I loved talking to those guys this morning. And Aaron and Mac, if you guys are listening, I am so sorry that I basically wasted an hour and a half of your time this morning. But thank you for talking to me. It was great. I hope that we can talk again. And maybe we get to re-record this interview someday. And maybe we check in on the Weedtube after it's already launched. I don't know. Maybe we'll figure it out. But thank you guys for sitting down with me. I appreciate it so much. And it just means a lot. And I hope that this goes well. And everything goes great for you. So thank you. To everyone else who's listening, thanks for coming along. Thanks for listening through this whole podcast. I know it was kind of a long one today, but I appreciate it. I hope that the WeedTube.com is something you find interest in, and I hope you check it out a little bit. If you're somebody who listens who doesn't smoke all that much and you're like, man, I don't know if I need my YouTube with weed, then that's cool, whatever. But if you know someone who does, let them know, because I'm sure that there are people out there who would be really, really into this. So feel free to spread the word around. As far as myself, my name is Goldilocks, and this is a podcast called Seshcast, which you can find at this point pretty much everywhere. iTunes, of course, the big one. Spotify. I'm on SoundCloud. I'm on iHeartRadio. That's the new one. Hopefully soon, Stitcher and Google Play. I think those are the next ones we're going after. I am also on YouTube, and I say so sincerely that hopefully very, very soon I will also be uploading regularly to the Weedtube.com. And I look very forward to the day that I get to do that. So I think with that, I'm going to hit this bowl one last time, and I'm going to cheers on out of here. So yeah, cheers, friends. My name is Goldilocks. This has been Seshcast. Thank you so much for listening.